Okay, in this video, we're going to go over writing content that converts. And I have to say, this is probably one of my most favorite sections of the course because really a lot of people struggle with this. This is something that I work with clients on. I do a lot of like group work with people where we'll look at their content, sometimes call them out a little bit. I'll invite them to allow me to do a content audit sometimes where I'll take a look at their content that they're posting. Usually I'll start with like their social media just to kind of see where we can make some tweaks. And that's where I want you to be really intentional with your content. The words that you put out there that you use online can either attract people to your product and to you, or it can push them away. It can repel people. So the good news is you do not have to be a professional copywriter to create amazing posts. Generally, once you make a few of these little tweaks and you keep some things in the back of your mind when you are writing your content, it will start to grab attention and convert your followers into buyers. So just by focusing on some of these things, I'm going to go over some key points to think about when you're creating your content. It will really help you to feel more excited even when you're creating content, because I know sometimes it can really hold people back actually quite a bit. It can make you feel like I don't really want to show up online. And what I find is like when you feel excited about creating content and talking about your product and you really dial it in, that's when people buy from you. That's truly when people will purchase your products, your services, whatever it is that you're offering, your offer. Okay. People feel it in you. So, and they feel it in your content. It doesn't necessarily even have to be you, doing the posts. Like you can have someone do that for you. And that is a way to go. But generally, like if you're just starting out or if you're kind of like, working your business, a lot of times you're the one behind the scenes creating the content. So, what I will say, kind of generally before I go over these key points, is what I do notice in people is a lot of times the best way I can describe it is that people are coming at something more for trying to share information, or they're coming from something like from their old self, instead of really embracing who they are now, who they're helping right now, and helping that ideal client with the transformation. So you'll see this in the points that I'm going to cover. And I think by going through the points, it will help to shift you into the right feeling that you need to be in so that the content just flows out of you. And generally, this happens with practice. It does happen when you also are very centered and clear and focused about the key points that you want to make about the result or the transformation that your people can have if they are able to get the product that you are providing. So let's start with these key points to cover. First one is to keep things very simple and clear. All right. So what you want to do is speak directly to your ideal customer. You do not want to speak to everyone out there. Okay. So try to narrow it down as best you can, right? So when you were creating your outline, and maybe you're the person that went through this transformation, maybe the example of the person you're speaking to is someone like you, but maybe they're just a little bit of, a few steps behind you. So one way you can do this is you can say, okay, like I'm at where I'm at now, but where was I and who was I, right? Back then when I didn't know this result, when I really wanted that result really badly. So maybe take that first key point and say, okay, who is that ideal customer, right? That will really help you to pinpoint that so that you can keep things very simple and very clear and direct to them rather than just giving this broad message, to everyone out there. It really does help if you can be simple and clear and speak right to that person. And the second point is to really remember that this ideal person you're speaking to has a problem and you're helping to solve their problem. So remember, throughout this whole course, the point to creating your digital product or your course is to help someone solve that one problem that they're having that you have the answer to. And this product that you've created is there to help them. So your content should be focused on the transformation that they're going to have. It's more about that than it is about information. Okay, like this course is going to have 5 modules and it's going to be packed with cheat sheets and this and that, and it's going to have a couple videos, and that's all just information. No one cares about that. Your ideal client, though, really cares about the problem that you are helping them solve. And so, if you're able to speak to that transformation, then you're going to convert them so much faster, so much easier. Because if you think about it, this person is up at night with this problem. They are losing sleep. They are feeling sick and tired. They're at their wits' end, with their problem. And so your course or your digital product is helping to solve that for them. This is the whole key to this whole thing here. Like if you can get that what you're creating is something that simply solving a problem, and then you really feel that when you go to write your content, you're going to be able to write the content so much easier. Because if you just think about like how you were and how you felt when you were struggling, with that feeling. And if you really speak to that feeling and you're able to transmit that to say, hey, I've been there, I've done that. And I'm going to give you, in this module, you're going to have this cheat sheet where you get to get some examples, right, of things that, like, they're types of content basically that you can write. And so we're going to get into that, but for example, storytelling will really help that ideal client see that you have their story. Maybe you were living in their experience and you can share a little piece of your story and get a little bit vulnerable and say, hey, I know what you're going through because this is what I experienced. I was very frustrated and I was tired. And at some point, I had to figure this thing out. And this is what I found. And it's like, it changed my life. And this is what happened. I went from this to this. And now here's the product that I'm sharing because I went through that transformation. Something like that is going to intrigue people. It's going to get attention from your ideal client so quickly that they're going to be like, hey, they have some kind of answer. I need that. I need that right now, actually. I'm tired too. So that's what I want you to see is that you have this, you're the bank of information, but it's all in you and you need to get that out. So the more that you can almost like relive or like go back in time, or if you're, say, a professional sharing, what you know, think about this person with their problem and how what you've created came from a need, some kind of need or problem to solve. All right. So that's the second key point. Third one is to help your ideal client see the result. So you want to focus on the benefits and not the features of your course. So you don't want to just explain what the product is. You want to show them what it does for them, right? Again, going into the end result, right? What is the transformation? What is it that they care about? So instead of saying something like, there's 5 video lessons in this course, you want to say something like, this is packed with 5 short videos that's going to help you go from a parent with a child who's a picky eater to a proud parent whose child loves trying all kinds of foods, including veggies, right? Something like that is going to help really pinpoint to that person if first, does this thing matter to me? Because if someone's not a parent with a child that's a picky eater, they're not going to want what you have. So you're going to first filter out and eliminate a bunch of people right away who may not need your course. But second, you're going to speak right to that person who is a parent with a child who's a picky eater. And they're going to listen up. They're going to be like, hey, what does this person know? What secrets do they have? Like, what are those 5 videos going to reveal to me that I don't know right now? And if I could just watch 5 videos and be done with this and not have this problem anymore, and now my child eats food easily, doesn't flip out, in restaurants, doesn't cause a bunch of stress and problems and but rather actually like is curious and wants to try foods, even eat veggies, my life is going to be so much easier. It's going to be changed. So that's the whole point here is to help them see that result. What will they feel? That's what you have to get into is remembering how frustrated you were and the feeling that you got once you realized this solution. And and the whole point to creating this course or this digital product is to help people. It's to serve them. It's to share with them, just like if they were your friend down the street who maybe you're a parent and they're a parent and they're struggling with their child, but you have maybe so naturally or so easily been able to have your child just eat foods from all sorts of restaurants and from all kinds of different backgrounds. And you are having an easy time of it because you have some kind of secret. And so that parent finds out because maybe your child's at a party together and their child's flipping out because they don't want to eat the carrots and the peas and whatever else. And your kid's like trying it all. So think of it that way. What would you say to that parent about breaking it down really simply? I know what you're going through because little Johnny here used to not eat all of those things. I had to make him chicken nuggets every night. And now, because I did this, this, and this with him, he will try things. And it's just so much more peaceful. The peaceful feeling is what that parent wants. They want that same feeling you have now, which is like, I figured it out. Okay. So that's really what to be focused on here is that result. Okay. So if you can get into what is the feeling that this product is going to create? What's the transformation that this ideal client of mine's going to have? And jot that down. And then you can just go through and feel into like, what were the steps that got me there? Okay. That's basically what you did with your outline to get your outline. You could even go back to your outline and say, okay, what were the things, these things, right, that helped me get this result? And what you're doing in your content, you're not giving them the steps in your content. Okay. That is a tactic. Like that is a way that you can do some simple, very easy content, which is like step one, step two, step three, and not give away like all of the tips in your content. That is something you can do, which we'll go over. Okay. But if you are really wanting to help them feel the feeling, that's what you want to get into in the content. You really want to get into what is the transformation? How are they going from this to this? And so that's what you want to focus on. You want to make sure to include specific things in your post. So this is the fourth key point, which we went over just a little bit, but I'm going to go over now. So you definitely want to use things like storytelling in your content because people relate to personal stories, and storytelling is not an easy thing. I will say it takes practice and it does take a little bit of skill, but if you are able to simply tell someone like, hey, I've been there, this is what I went through, and you share, a couple little points or things about what you went through, that's telling a story. So this isn't like a complicated thing. And in social media posts, you don't have a whole lot of space to do things like storytelling. And I would not suggest sharing, the content in the comments. You don't need to go that long, when you're telling a story. You just want to pull out one quick little bite, like one little piece, one quick win, something like that that helps someone see that you have been there. This is what you went through. This is what you realized. That's something that you want to see and help this person see the transformation that happened for you. So you just want to highlight, the problem and how your product is the solution for them. And so you're basically sharing the story and then bringing up, this is why I created this guide, this video course, this, freebie, whatever it is that you are creating for your digital product. You're basically telling the story and then saying, this is the reason why I created this, was to help people. So that's one thing that you can definitely use storytelling and practice it, and you'll get better and better at it. If you do this in any of your posts, I would say to have a call to action. That's referred to as a CTA in our online business world. So pretty much every post, I would tell you to have a call to action, whether that be telling people to follow you for more tips and guidance like this, or to comment below, if they have a thought about this, or comment below if they would like to receive more information, about this, or get the guide. And we're going to get into later in the course how you can set this up as an automation so that if someone comments something specifically, then it will automate your reply to them. And if they show interest in the comment, then it actually automates something so that they get that in their DMs. So I'm going to show you that later in the course. But you see, having a call to action is so important because it's really calling that person forward, your ideal client, to say, hey, if you're interested in what I'm talking about, then let me know so that I can help you. Okay, so it could be through a comment, it could be, click on this, learn more button, or, find out from me, or DM me. So go ahead and make sure to put a call to action in your post. And you can start with a call to action if you want, and then get into storytelling or get into your content, or you can create your post and then have your call to action at the bottom. The next thing I will say is to sprinkle in what we call social proof. So having testimonials, screenshots, your own story of success, your clients' stories of success with this product, all of that is going to build trust. It will help you also look like an authority, right? Or an expert at this. So the more social proof, the better. If you can, show that what you're doing is really helping people, that, you have an expertise in this, that you've been through this, and you have proof. If you can show it through things like experiments are great. You can run an experiment, um, you know, over a little bit of time, like let's say over a week or over a month, and share your results from that experiment. And that is social proof. If you're able to say, hey, I tried this with my picky eater kid and it worked, and here's the proof. I put it in a guide. If you want the guide, let me know and I will send it to you. That's going to wake up your audience. It's going to be like, hey, I want to know what they figured out. So make sure to do those things, put those things in your post specifically, and keep improving in those areas, especially around things like storytelling, especially around putting CTAs, call to actions, in your posts. So many people that I check their social media accounts, and I'll look at a couple posts and I can tell right away why they are not getting clicks or not getting buyers, or followers. And it's because they're not including call to actions. They're not saying directly to their people, hey, follow me if you are more interested in this. Or, it's kind of leading your audience and telling them, if you want more, let me know. So make sure to include those things in your posts, and, really look at your content with fresh eyes, and really look and see who you're attracting with what you're writing and what you're posting. If you're able to look at things with fresh eyes, you'll be able to see right away, oh, this is why I'm getting no buyers, or this is why, I'm attracting parents that want some other problem. Maybe their kids are, not sleeping at night or something, but you're not solving that problem. You're solving the picky eater problem. So, you want to keep narrowing down and keep focusing on that ideal client as much as you can. Really write out or list out who that person is. And if you can, be very intentional with your posts, only speaking to them, and and come at it from different angles, and that will help to attract them. The fifth key point here is consistency. And so I know a lot of people give up once, they're having a hard time, like not seeing any traction. But I will tell you, the more that you work on the other four key points and you refine and you tweak and you get more into your ideal client and helping solve their problem and bringing products forward, offers forward that can help them more and more, and you're consistent about that, you will see people buying from you. But you're probably not going to be good at this at the very beginning. Okay. So when you get started, don't get discouraged. I will say it takes practice, and writing content is an art form, and it's something that, takes a little bit of time to master. But that's why, like, you're watching this, and that's why I've included some simple content frameworks below so that you can take some of those frameworks and just plug and play. So just take some of those, a couple of them, plug in the, the information and the transformation, what your problem is, what your ideal client is, what your product is. You'll see it's going to have little sections in there that, have little brackets, and you can just plug in your information and you can play with those posts and keep refining them. Now, if you see that some of them are really like getting hits and, creating some kind of like traction for you, do more of that. That would be one of the key things I would say to you, not only consistency, but consistency with what's working. So keep showing up for the things that are really speaking to your ideal client. If you see something hits with them, if something really lands with them, repeat that and keep repeating it until you're blue in the face. um, I will say, just as a quick kind of thing here, that you don't have to use your own face. People ask me this, like, can I go faceless? Because I don't want to show my face. And I will tell you, you don't have to. There's ways to work around that. But what I will say is to avoid like using stock photos and stock videos and that sort of thing, because people can tell. And I think that your brand is going to come across a lot better if you are taking your own photos, and it's so simple, easy. It's so simple and so easy. If you have a smartphone, and you are like sitting at the table with your kid with veggies, you can do shots, from behind, like, having your child there and like having a fork with like a vegetable on the end of the fork. There's so many creative ways that you can take your own photos, even of your own laptop. Maybe you're out working, having coffee or something, and you can shoot, great photos like that. I have clients that do that. They have the window, behind their laptop, and they have a nice cup of coffee, and they take a couple photos or a short video, of where they are. Um, so I would recommend that to you as opposed to using stock photos and stock videos, because you can just tell, when it's stock stuff. And it's not like going to really click, I think, with your ideal client. And that's the whole point to this, is someone really be like almost like clicking with you and relating to you And that's what I really want to keep reiterating throughout this course, and for you to share in your digital products is really to share who you are, to come across that way, so that people really relate, with you and see themselves in you and that transformation. So go ahead and download, maybe even print out that content framework and take a look at some of those and see if you are able to take your course, your transformation, your information, and plug it in to some of those frameworks. And I would suggest giving yourself like a half hour of time at least, every day, and just sit with that framework sheet and do your best to create a couple pieces of content during that 30-minute time so that you're able to take that content and very easily post it online. I will say, if you're just beginning and you're trying to build up an audience and to build up followers, I will say to post as often as you can. And so if you can post at least once a day, that's really good. If you can get into twice a day, that's even better. And you do want to do a mix of things like video, like in Reels, as well as carousel posts where you just have photo after photo. And go ahead and do that for your first 30 days. So if you can be consistent over that 30 days and have at least a post a day, you're going to start to build up an audience, especially if you are helping to solve that one specific problem. All right, so go ahead and get going on your content, and we're going to get into some more specifics here around content and posting things like ads and all of that, to make this even easier for you so that it's repeatable, and you're able to build up that following pretty quickly. All right, so I'll see you in the next video.